Hey everybody, welcome to episode 6 of Around the Verse. I'm Sandy Gardner and...
I am Ben Lesnick.
And Ben Lesnick, what did you do this weekend?
I went to my brother's ex-girlfriend's Star Trek-themed burlesque act.
That is where you were on Friday night,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Because I kept emailing Ben, and Ben always emails me back like lightning from everything,
Yep.
basically. And then Dennis Daniels comes downstairs and he says, oh, I'm going to this Star Trek burlesque thing with Ben Lesnick. I'm like, what? So that's what you were doing.
Yeah, if you're going to go to a Star Trek burlesque act, bring your IT guy.
Right.
So what did you do this weekend?
What did I do this weekend? For the third time in a row, I watched the World Cup, and I had to because it was the final. What else happened? We passed the $48 million mark this weekend. Congratulations to all of our backers.
We couldn't do anything like this without you guys. It's just incredible the support we've had. And we have a cool new $50 million stretch goal that I'm very excited about. We are going to bring in an actual linguist to come up with languages for the Vandul, the Cheyenne, and the Banu. So you may be speaking Cheyenne sooner than you know it.
Ich weiß nicht, was du hast gesagt.
Well, it is your very last chance to pick up a Gladius Light Fighter. The concept sale ends tomorrow at midnight.
You got one.
I did get one. They're going to be a really cool way to play Arena Commander because they're honestly a dedicated dogfighter. Rest of our ships are kind of jack of all trades, do a little bit of everything. The Gladius is going to be for dogfighting. I did not get one because I was trying to get a dog tag. I bet that didn't go so well.
No, it did not because I missed out.
I guess you'll have to be in the second fleet.
Second fleet, exactly.
Well, I was looking at the feedback for last week's show, and some people noticed something a little different about you. I didn't personally, but you want to fill us in on what was going on?
I was overtaken by Eva. She is going to be virtual assistants for the new online store on the website.
It's pretty cool. So you're doing like motion capture or video?
Some motion capture and some live action green screen. So
very cool. I look forward to seeing more of Eva, as do apparently all of our fans.
Chris Roberts is back from Montreal, where he sat down with Tony Zurevec, Alex Mabry, and others to plot out our Star Citizen Persistent Universe.
Yeah, we're calling it the Persistent Universe Summit. Basically, they sat down, got all their ducks in a row for the next couple months of Star Citizen production. Work continues on patch 12.5,
rubber banding.
Yes, we know it's been a while. We are working this issue. It's been lots of dead ends, but we are very, very close. In fact, by the time you see this, it may be out, which is good news because in addition to fixing the rubber banding, the latency issues, it also adds the
jukebox. Yes. I've been waiting for the jukebox.
Hangar dance party.
Got a little overexcited about that.
And there'll also be the new Vandal Ace Fighter, which for you to discover. So as long as 12.5 is out, there's some interesting stuff for you to do in the Star Citizen world.
Our writers are going to Comic-Con. David Ladyman and David Haddock will be at the San Diego Comic-Con next week to review submissions from potential Star Citizen writers.
Yeah, if you think you have what it takes, go find out.
Now let's go over to Alexis and Chelsea for the CS report.
Hi, and welcome to the Customer Service Report. My name's Chelsea.
And I'm Alexis. And this week we have a merchandise update for you. We have some new t-shirts for sale this week, starting tomorrow. We will have the Anvil t-shirt, which will be $25 including shipping. And we will have the Arena Commander t-shirt, which will also be $25 including shipping. And we're also going to offer this 3-patch set, which is the UEE patch, the Advocacy patch, and the Navy patch, and that will be $19 including shipping.
For those of you wondering about a cross-chassis upgrade for the Gladius, we'll be offering that once the ship is flyable in Arena Commander. See you next time, guys.
Thanks, ladies. Those t-shirts look great.
And now it's time for...
News Around the Verse.
Arena Commander. Art and audio have been working on textures and effects for several new game modes, including New Horizons.
And there have been plenty of bug fixes, along with the hopeful fix for the rubber banding and the lag issue. Should be in 12.5 very, very soon.
Meanwhile, design has finished for their plan for the lobby and is moving to expand the ship component system.
Last but not least, we're doing some serious balancing on Arena Commander. We're changing the impact some of the weapons have, the effect missiles have on shields, just all these little balanced things that start to create our ideal flight model.
Squadron 42, call the ball. The team is working on the manual landing prototype.
And the artists over there are working on character animations. This is a Chris Roberts game, so we have all sorts of characters just in the first couple missions of Squadron 42, and we want to get them right.
While the designers are getting the conversations up to speed.
And the team has completed their reviews of the first 3 missions of the game, and mission 4 is hot behind.
Persistent universe. We need more parts. The team is working on expanding the components pipeline and on integrating what we've already developed into the plan for the persistent universe.
Our technical designers in Austin are working on nebula effects.
Designers completed GDDs on cargo, repair, and jump point transit this week.
And work is ongoing on an EVA prototype, which is going to take the stuff you've seen in Arena Commander and let you do all sorts of other things outside your ship.
Ships. Woohoo! The Idris Bridge is complete and the F-8 Lightning is ongoing.
Meanwhile, we have started animation on the Gladius, and what that means is hangar animation. So we're already bringing the ship into the hangar, animating how you get in, how you get out, how you put your hands on the stick and the throttle. So it's a lot further along than people may think. You may be seeing it in your hangars sooner than later.
All right, you might have a Gladius before I have a dog tag.
That seems likely.
Gray boxing continues on the Gladiator, Javelin, Panther, and Retaliator.
The 890 jump concept is done, and we've moved into white boxing.
CIG Austin has made some fixes to the Origins 350R's hardpoints and completed a revision of the Super Hornet's cockpit.
Damage and collision work on the Constellation and the M50 are ongoing. That's in-engine stuff.
CG Bot has made great progress on the Constellation variants with delivery of damage states and variants expected soon.
Finally, we've seen the concept art on the Vanduul torpedo bomber and the new collector ship.
Hangar. The big news from the Hangar module is that the team at Behavior is going ahead and completing the conversion of the original 3 hangars. After that, they'll work on polishing and refactoring.
I can't wait to see my hangar in the multi-room system. Well, let's go over to William for Most Valuable Poster.
Hey everybody, I'm lead moderator Will, here to bring you this week's MVP. This week's MVP goes to Paladonic for his thread about 100 ways to die in space. A couple of my favorite are a malfunctioning Cutlass toilet, driving a 6000 SUX, and of course, being attacked by an angry mob of pirates. So thank you very much, Paladonic. You're this week's MVP.
Thanks, William. So this week we have another little sneak peek, Ben.
Oh, what's that?
Check it out.
That's pretty cruel.
Cruel. You mean cool. You'll see the rest of the ship this summer.
Now let's go over to Matthew and Thierry to learn a little bit more about how we build ships at RSI.
Hey everybody, this is Matt Intrieri. I'm the tech artist at the LA studio working on Star Citizen. Today I'm going to show you some things about tools and how we automate the processes of creating these spaceships. And you might recognize the Hornet. When we build a spaceship, it's comprised of many parts. There's, like say, the wing, but we have to build the damaged versions of the wing, and then each damaged version has to have an LOD for performance reasons. So when you think about a part of a ship, we're really talking about 16 plus models. And I'll show you what that looks like here. This is a hierarchy, and you can see very quickly these ships can get extremely complex. Each part has many subparts which represent effects and LODs for performance and damage. What we do is we represent that in the code as well though, and up to this point this has been all typed in by hand. This is what it looks like when a part is added to our code. So now what I've done is I've written a script that analyzes the ship and puts the code into the game automatically. So I'll just run that for you right now. And this is a huge time saver. So I'll go ahead and run that. And you can see it over here. It is updating those pieces. If I were to change the hierarchy right now, it would update over here. And it's hard to see, but this has now been updated. All these parts have been stitched together. This is a child of this. These effects nodes have been put under the parts. Say we want to change the way the damage works or things that fly off, the detached bits. Well, now we can just move those pieces around and hit the button. Before it was move those pieces around, then go and edit those pieces of text. And it's very complicated when you have about 600 pieces to deal with. And that's on the little ships.
That was pretty cool. I could never do that.
I could never do anything approaching that. But James Pugh could, and he's here to ask Calix your questions.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Calix Reneau. Calix, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
You're rocking a pretty sweet hat there.
Thank you.
Where do I get me one of those?
You have to fight for it. You have to pull it from the cold, dead hands of crazed milliners.
This is a way better answer than I thought you were going to give me. I thought you were going to be like, go to the Gap.
I guess you can, if you have to.
You want to get in some questions?
Yeah, sure.
First one is from Mr. Bump.
Do some learning.
Which ships have given you the most problems to work on so far? And which ships have you enjoyed working on the most?
As far as most difficult, honestly, the Aurora was surprisingly difficult to work on. It turns out it's a hefty little beast. It's got, it had so many bones, and it was this really intricate, complex structure that even though it doesn't particularly look at it from the outside, it took a lot of work and troubleshooting to get that thing to fall apart correctly. It was like we had issues of the interior moving over there while the exterior moves over here, or having.
Sounds like an awesome glitch.
Yeah, it was kind of a nightmare to get all those pieces to line up together. And we even actually had trouble exporting it at one point because there were so many debris pieces and they would just not export. And so I brought it in at one point and there was no ship.
But it wasn't that way with like the Hornet or anything else?
The Hornet,
I just find it odd how it's like the Aurora. Like,
yeah, well, for one thing, the Hornet had already been sort of this work in progress at the time. And so the Aurora was this whole like, let's dive into damage. It worked so well last time. And so we really kind of went crazy on it, and there were just so many little pieces. Like, I can't remember the exact number, but it was above 2,000 different pieces on the Aurora.
Dang.
And the system was like, maybe that's too many. Maybe you don't need that many right now. And so eventually we agreed, and we decided, especially since at the scales that we were working at, you couldn't really see. Like the pieces that would come off were these tiny, these panels that would come off the top of the wings and come off of the side of the ship, and you couldn't see them. And so it was a real pain to get to function. It wasn't satisfying to see happen. So we went back with that one and sort of massaged it to get the larger chunks that break off in more meaningful ways, and that actually has really done a lot to inform how we have approached our damage system now with the larger ships and with trying to refine our processes. Do the meaningful shapes first, and we can kind of deal with the little panels later.
Cool. Well, I guess second part is, which ship have you enjoyed working on the most?
Probably the Cutlass. I haven't had the chance to finish with it yet. We've been piecing together things, but it was the first time that I got to do my white box. I got to build the whole thing out in this terrible. We showed it. We took this terrible box form and tear it to pieces. Tear everything about it apart. And it's really nice to be able to have that complete control. So that's probably my favorite so far.
So next question is from Liberty Marine. When you implement the double precision system, will we be able to just fly with our ships into any direction for as long as we want to without reaching an immersion-breaking border?
Well, the simple answer is yes. That's this experience that we are trying to build. And part of that is the double precision system being able to go far enough in a map that we can stream in the next part. But there's a lot more that's going to be involved in that than just the double precision system. So simply yes, and we will be working on that very thing.
All right. Next question comes from Armontillado. Can you explain to us the difference between a white box and a gray box in your ship modeling workflow?
Well, the white box is basically where I start the process, which actually isn't true.
Okay.
We actually start by going in and taking.
Wait, did you just lie to us?
I mean, you can't believe a thing I say.
Okay.
We take meticulous screenshots of the ships. We've got all these reference, and then we go in and we paint all over them, as if my ruining of the ships was not enough. We go in and we draw out exactly what we want, like what are these shapes that we want to pull apart, to start defining what the ship is going to be. And from there, we go into the white box. Now that I have a plan of attack, I know what I want from the system, I start building out the white box, which is simply boxes. No necessary textures, no necessary lighting. Art is not even an issue. Like, whatever it takes to get it in engine and functional.
Okay.
Gray box is the first step beyond that to start integrating the art back into that functionality.
Okay.
And again, not really focused on textures, not really focused on lighting, just focused on form now that we have the function.
Okay, cool.
So that's where it starts coming back together.
So you go white box, then gray box.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what do you do first?
Lie.
Next question comes from a Gundam. So I was wondering, how do you... Wow, sorry, it's written weird. Next question comes from Gundam. He says, so I was wondering, how do damage states work on larger ships in, say, the capital ship range when they are at the least, when they're at the last?
Okay, give me that.
Go ahead.
Work on larger ships in, say, the capital ship range when they are at the last and final damage state.
You didn't ask the question, you just said the end.
Well, what else do you need?
All right. Question is, what's the difference in damage states for capital ships as opposed to smaller ships when they're at their, basically, the last gasp?
Well, there's a lot of that question we have not answered.
Okay.
But we're beginning to, and part of that is our exploration with the constellation, which I believe I can talk about, and sort of piecing together a new way of dealing with these immensely sized ships. Part of that is combining the CGAs for the interior and the exterior. Our CGA is our data set for our models.
Okay, what's that stand for?
Something animation.
Okay, cool.
I don't quite.
Well, for people who don't quite understand it, I want them to know.
They're animated models.
Yeah.
They come complete with joints and animation alongside the geometry, and we are setting up the new ships to have an interior CGA, an interior model, and an exterior model, and we are combining those in engine. We're stitching them back together, and part of the advantage of that is that when we do our separate physics areas for interior so as not to die, and exterior so as to be able to fly around and do the things that you kind of expect of a space game, we can combine those things by setting up each physics section to have its own geometry.
Okay.
And then we combine that geometry in engine so that when these things tear apart, they pull apart the interior along with the exterior. They have matching damage states.
Oh, cool, because it kind of goes back to last week. We were talking about the different physics and the different physics for inside of a ship, which is outside the normal physics engine of the environment or space.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of making sure those two damage states come
Yeah, and this is actually how that works. Is that
Okay.
we build it out as a separate thing and we stitch them together in engine.
Cool. Okay.
Because at that point we have all this data to pull from, and we can associate the correct this floor with this outer hull and tear that away, and now you have what you would expect of a hull breach, and you'd have that big hole there. And I'd expect that we'll be able to get a pretty robust system of being able to tear them pretty much completely apart. One of the other questions that we have to answer is how do we deal with these things when they become totally separate entities? How will they act? How will they interact with each other? Will they spawn something new? It's definitely something we are actively solving still.
Okay, cool. Last question comes from Karma. This is a personal question. You strike me as an artist. Do you see what you do at CIG as art? Do you wish you were more in on the design process?
Well,
Without getting in trouble.
Why not? Why not? I mean, I have a fairly varied background. When I wanted to get into game design, which I've wanted basically my whole life.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's worked out nicely. But I've felt completely that game design is the hub of game development. It's where the art and the animation and the sound design and the programming and everything comes together and forms a cohesive experience if we're doing it right.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of time learning how to do each of those things. I've done animation, I've done 3D modeling and 2D illustration and concept design, and I do music, and I do really everything except for IT, which I am no longer capable of doing now that we have our helpful staff.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis. Saving me on a regular basis. But yeah, I kind of feel like game design is an art, because it's certainly not a science. You have to try things. You have to go in there and experiment and see what you get, see how it feels. Everything is guessing until you go for it.
Yeah.
And as far as feeling cut off from design, I feel like I'm in a pretty good place. I get to tear apart ships, which is pretty fun.
It's pretty fun.
I'm not gonna lie anymore. And I also, one of the nice things about my position is that I have the opportunity to work with these great people, and I'm doing all these little prototypes to figure out where we're going. And I don't necessarily know all the answers to what we're going to do when we get there, or what our final solutions are going to be for any given thing, but I get to try it.
Yeah.
I get to see, and then I take it to the design team, and they say, well, this is something interesting. This is something we can work with, and we can respond to, and we can move forward with. And that is really fulfilling to me.
Awesome, man.
So,
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
certainly.
And back to you guys.
Thanks, James.
What is a Calix anyway?
I don't know, but it's pretty cool.
And now it's time for
Bug Smashers!
Bug Smashers.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bug Smashers. I'm here to show off one of the most depressing bugs I've come across on this project so far.
Bug Smashers.
This week's bug has to deal with the player standing up when he initially spawns into the multiplayer match. It was pretty much a very hard bug to replicate. Here, at least in the LA team, the Austin team and UK team were able to get it quite frequently. But anyway, the bug, when you initially spawn in, the player will basically be standing up and his hands still have IK, so he'll be like this holding the controls. And if you go in first person, your head is like popped up inside the ceiling of the ship. So all you see is just like this gray blob in front of you. But yeah, it only happens in multiplayer, and it was just a pain in the butt. Here is the bug. Pretty much the player, as you can see, is standing up and freaking out. If I go into first person, you can see my head is popped up in the ceiling and the camera is just going wild. As you can see here on the screen, I have a bunch of like debug information, and that's pretty much some network information. I'm actually simulating network lag between 200 to 300 milliseconds and 1% chance of packet loss. The reason why is because this bug, it has to deal with multiplayer and how and when you get certain packets. It was because the player was reviving after he gets inside of a ship, and the revive code will reset all of his animations. I can show you something real quick. Let me kill myself, and then my player will spawn. In a brief moment, you'll see that I'm inside. Oh, it freaked out even worse. If you move around, you just see the guy's hands go like this, and then his feet go up and down. It's kind of funny. What is happening is the player will respawn inside the center of the map, and that causes him to like bounce around and stuff, and then when you get the packet to revive, you get positioned way off somewhere else. That's why in multiplayer you'll see sometimes you'll be somewhere else and then instantly teleport. Well, during this time, the player is already in the seat, and then he gets the revive call, and in this sequence of events, the player's animation just goes wild. One aspect of this bug was it was actually really, really hard to replicate. Me and another guy from the Redacted studio were working on this thing for about a week and a half, trying mostly to get it, replicating. And we heard from both UK and Austin, mostly UK because they have a higher latency, that this was happening very frequently for them. But when we go and try it through the launcher, we didn't see the bug. So then we tried it on our local machines. I would connect to my own dedicated server, didn't see the bug. All right, maybe it's a latency issue, we thought. So I put in some debug console variables to increase my latency and provide random packet loss. Still not getting it. We're like, what's going on? Is this a phantom bug? Does it really exist? Because we can't replicate it. And then they start sending us videos saying, look, this is actually happening. We're like, no. So we took another step further, and I actually got this laptop baby right here, and I moved my dedicated server onto it, and I still wasn't getting it, even with the latency. So then someone, I think it was Jason Spangler, who sent out an email suggesting that we use another application which will actually simulate any type of network, ADSL, 56K modem, you name it. So I popped that on, ADSL setting, and connected to my laptop, and what did I get? I get the stand-up bug. And not just that, every time I connected to that server, I was getting it like all the time. So the ability to get the bug changed from like once in the blue moon to now I get it all the time. I can start debugging it, start figuring out what's happening. Now when the player respawns into the ship, we make sure that his animations don't get reset, because that actually has already happened on a different respawn call or revive call, and everything seems to be good in order. And we have a future task to look at that little hack to see if there's a better way of doing it, but at least for now, the players won't be standing up and flipping his arms out, all weird like when he spawns in multiplayer.
Count to 10.
1, 3, 9, 7, 2, 8, 10, 5, 6, 4.
That wasn't very good. You missed 2.
And I said 2.
Did you?
It was the 4th number.
Well, that's it for our show this week. Next week, you'll find out who won the 10 for the Chairman logo contest.
And our guest next week will be Rob Irving, because I will be in Austin.
Austin? Well, who's going to host the show with you?
A very special guest.
Ooh, you'll have to tune in for that one. See you next week, guys.
See you next week on Around the Verse.
We didn't have any 4K monitors. We only had 1080p monitors, so the 4K monitors were a waste because I didn't even ask for them. So I'm not sure why that was even... Hello? Hello? God damn it. Stupid phone. Hello? Ah! God. Where's that light switch? Damn it, somebody didn't pay the bill again or something stupid. God damn it.
Hello? Hello?